live on YouTube.
It's funny that you had that because I definitely was thinking in the car the other day. I was like, oh, it's probably gonna title this one "Scarlet and Violet Forever."
Forever Scarlet.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough.
That was close.
We'll throw back to some Power Rangers right there. Forever Red. All right. Let's check the audio mic here. And it goes up.
And
let's talk.
Up.
Yep. Let's just talk loud.
No, let's not do that.
And we're back with another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly stop for news on movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. Going this pretty fast because we got a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us. Today is November 19th, 2022. Believe it or not, we are almost done with November, which means we're almost done with December, which means we were almost done with 2022. Can you believe it?
Which means get your list ready.
Yes, we'll talk about lists probably next week, and our plans for the month of December.
Well, our plans for next week as well as we get to Thanksgiving.
Correct. But in the meantime, we have a big show for you, as Mike mentioned. We have some big releases to cover, most notably Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which Mike has seen, and also Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the Switch, which I have played. We'll have first impressions for Pokemon later, and we'll have your full thoughts on Wakanda Forever later as well. We have lots to dive in besides that as well, including the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle, all that and more. Let's get started with music.
Yes, and when we start music with the Billboard, and start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And speaking of, once again, Taylor Swift, Anti-Hero, your number one song.
However, barely made it because she has been ambushed by Drake and 21 Savage this week.
Yes, because Rich Flex comes in at number 2 by Drake and 21 Savage. Also at number 3, Major Distribution by Drake and 21 Savage. Coming at 4, On BS by Drake and 21 Savage. And then rounding out your top 5, Spin 'Bout You by none other than Drake and 21 Savage.
So if it wasn't for the juggernaut that is Taylor Swift, Drake would have done the same thing that Taylor did last week and take all of the top 5 spots. That didn't happen. 2 weeks ago. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you think he did this, put this out to try and?
I think he tried. I think he definitely tried. I think it's a coincidence that it was set for release when it was. I don't think it was supposed to take Taylor down. But I think this is just the streaming reality we live in. I think this is going to become more and more common that an artist's big new release, if they're an artist on the tier of Drake or Taylor, is going to dominate the top 5. I think that's just going to be something that happens now. Taylor opened the floodgates.
I mean, technically they were already kind of open. But
we'll talk more about Taylor later.
Yes.
There's obviously she was in the news this week, but we'll get there.
As for your album chart, your Billboard 200.
Yes.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, her loss.
Yeah, because she is not number 1 this week.
Yep, because her loss is number 1 by Drake and 21 Savage.
So yeah, he may not have gotten a number 1 single, but he did nab the number 1 album spot.
At least for this week, because at number 2 is Midnight by Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Coming in at 3, It's Only Me by Lil Baby. At number 4, Umbrellas and Tea by Bad Bunny. And rounding out your top 5, Smithereens by Joji.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's in the top 5. That means Morgan Wallen watch temporarily over. He is at number 6 this week.
And yet you still bring him up.
Hey, just in case you were wondering.
In case you were watching.
So thank you, Joji. Whoever you are, you saved us.
Thank you, Drake and 21 Savage, then.
And also, new release week this week is slow because of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yes, next week is Thanksgiving, so it's going to be very light.
Here in the United States, of course. You Canadians have to wait.
Yes. And if you like any of those albums, here's your new release.
Yes.
And this is what I mean. Because the album is This is What I Mean by Stormzy. Yes,
so, yeah.
That's Stormzy?
Yeah, UK grime artist Stormzy is the only one to put out something this week of note. I think there's also an Elvis Costello covers album. But besides that, I mean, again...
Wait, is that Elvis Costello covering people or people covering Elvis Costello?
Elvis Costello covering other songs, I believe.
Okay.
But that's a good question, honestly. All right, let's go into news, though. Two heavy hitters in music this week.
I know. Where do you want to start?
We should probably start with the biggest news that we
All
alluded
right.
to already, which is, of course, Ticketmaster.
Yes. If you were like us, which of course you are, because apparently 3 billion people tried to get tickets.
Well, specifically 2.5 million or 3.5 million, I think is the number that Ticketmaster said. 3.5 million total people. 1.5 million were involved in the actual pre-sale, and then 2 million people were put on the wait list.
Yeah.
Was, I think, their final numbers.
So, with those huge amount of numbers, Ticketmaster has formally apologized to Taylor Swift and her fans.
Yeah.
For the ticketing situation that left millions frustrated and enraged this week. The company's apology came in a statement issued Friday night, about half a day after Swift had expressed her anger about the fiasco in a feisty post, describing herself as, quote, pissed off about an excruciating situation and seeming to lay blame for the headline-making problem at Ticketmaster's feet. In a statement late Friday, the company wrote, the company being Ticketmaster, wrote, quote, and this is like super legal PR quote.
Right, yeah.
We strive to make ticket buying as easy as possible for fans, but that hasn't been the case for many people trying to buy tickets for Pearl Jam. I mean, Taylor Swift.
I feel like we just went back in time 30 years just for a blip there.
First, we want to apologize to Taylor and all her fans, especially those who had a terrible experience trying to purchase tickets. It's them. They're the problem.
So, yeah, okay. So the timeline here is, so of course, pre-sale was last Tuesday.
Okay. Signing up for pre-sale was last Thursday.
Right. Then pre-sale happened on Tuesday. Apparently people who even were given codes on Monday evening, even they had long queue times where they were waiting for hours for their chance to buy tickets. Some of them even got to the end of those queue times, and then the site broke, and they still weren't able to get tickets that they were promised. So obviously fans were pissed. It took Taylor until yesterday to actually make a comment about this.
A full week. Yeah.
Yeah. So people were kind of questioning, is like, wait, what does Taylor think about all this? And that's when she made the statement. So I've read Ticketmaster's entire post. They actually put in a lot of work in the post that they said. So here's basically their excuse. And I'm using quotes around excuse because I think there are valid things about their excuse. And I think there are not valid things. So where I feel like they are valid in complaining and or making an excuse about this is unprecedented demand was true. That part is true. There was unprecedented demand. As we mentioned, 3.5 million people signed up for this pre-sale. And that's the pre-sale. So you can imagine how many people want these tickets, regardless of fan registration or not.
And when you have numbers like that, it's going to be impossible for everyone to even buy one ticket because you have 3.5 million in pre-sale, and the amount of venues that there are and dates are only told about 2 million.
You could make an argument that they're allowing each person in the pre-sale to buy up to 6 tickets was maybe a problem because everyone took advantage of this. They were saying in their statement that they had expected an average. Well, first of all, the first thing that they didn't expect is in previous pre-sale registrations, they said only 40% of the people who sign up and get codes actually show up for pre-sale day. This time they said that was not the case. They didn't say specifically how much larger that number was, but it would not shock me if that was 95% or higher, honestly, because Taylor Swift fans, they do it because they're going to show up and do the thing. So I wasn't surprised by that, but that's legitimate in a way where they were like, okay, well, based on previous projections, we didn't expect this number to be that high. Makes sense. However, if you're Taylor, and sure enough, this is what she said, they promised her that this would not happen. She said multiple times she reached out to Ticketmaster to double check, hey, this isn't going to break, right? You ready for this? And they told her they were. So don't blame Taylor for being angry here. The second thing about that expectation is that ticket number, they only expected people to buy an average of 2 tickets each. That wasn't true here. And that's where they blame bot attacks. So the pre-registration is supposed to prevent bots. However,
two-step verification is supposed to prevent
yes,
bots.
they still got through.
Yep.
They were saying, and still were attacking like DDoS attacks on the website and everything. So the thing that this was built to prevent didn't prevent it 100%. It probably prevented a large portion of them, but it couldn't do the whole. It couldn't keep the bots out. Is basically what they found out. Third thing is they were saying was people showed up on pre-sale day that didn't have codes and tried to go onto Ticketmaster to see if they could get access to tickets. That also bogged the site down. So they were saying that over the course of Tuesday alone, they had billions of hits on their website, like 12 billion hits, and the website couldn't take the load. So again, they just didn't have the infrastructure. The website was never built for that many people to be logged in all at once.
No website is ever built.
No website is built.
Logged in all at
The
once.
last thing that I will put the point in their favor is, and this is kind of, well, duh, when you think about it, but they do have to bring this up because a lot of people don't understand this. There was just never going to be enough tickets for the demand. Taylor Swift is probably the most popular artist right now in the entire world. That means, obviously, the number of seats available for this tour will never reach that amount. They said that for Taylor to actually be able to play to everyone who wants to see her, she would have to do 900 stadium shows, which means she would have to perform every night for 2.5 years. So Taylor, get on it. What are you doing?
Put days off on there. You still have 3 years every night at a different stadium.
Again, kind of like a duh, of course, kind of point. But still, I think that at least a portion of this anger is, well, I wanted tickets. How come I can't come? And to a certain extent, there was just a certain percentage of people who are just never going to get tickets in the first place. But the biggest problem here, above all of that, and where I don't give Ticketmaster an excuse, they are a monopoly. Let's be real. Let's look at it from a market standpoint.
From a business perspective,
they own Live Nation, the biggest concert promoter in the world,
who owns stake in all the concert venues.
So it's rigged. The system is rigged in Ticketmaster's favor, not to mention all of the extra fees that they put on their ticket sales. It's important to note here that people who did buy tickets had to spend a lot more money than they should have. And then two, the bots that ended up reselling these tickets are reselling them for even more. There are some astonishing prices out there for resale.
You're talking about the $95,000?
$95,000 and stuff like that. Like, it's getting exorbitant. And so if you're Taylor, you should be mad. You should be mad that Ticketmaster told you one thing, and then we're on the flip side of it. They never went to public sale. Ticketmaster canceled that. That's not mentioned in the story, but we should mention this. It was such a fiasco during the pre-sale. The Ticketmaster was like, well, we don't even have enough tickets to give out. Presumably there are more. Presumably some of the shows didn't sell out, but there's no way of knowing now because they're just like, well, too bad. We're just throwing in the towel on this one because we just don't have the site for it. So the flip side of this is, so the question now is, okay, how do we fix this? How does Ticketmaster fix this? How do we fix this? Well, the government is going to ask that exact question. So a lot of people are like, wait, is the government just reacting to this and going to look into the Ticketmaster monopoly just because of Taylor? Surprisingly, no. 2 weeks ago, the president announced that he was going to look into Ticketmaster sales. And this was before the Taylor Swift thing even started. It just so happened that this was something that the administration was already looking into as part of their agenda. But now it's got heat on it. And now this is going to hit Congress. Hopefully in this coming session right here, the lame duck session that's happening before the end of the year, we might see some movement on this. And we might see something done about Ticketmaster. I think they should be broken up. I think that Live Nation especially should be removed from their ownership. I think we're looking at something that I think that a lot of people in Congress are going to be like, yeah, this is not sustainable. This is not good for artists. It's not good for fans. Something needs to be done, and this is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Congress has broken up companies before. Most recently, IBM in the 80s, AT&T in the late 90s, I think.
Yeah. When you started seeing the telecom companies kind of all fall apart. That being said, it's kind of been an uphill battle in the last decade because whenever you have conservative administrations in Congress, they are not typically antitrust administrations. They're ones that actually disassemble government regulations as opposed to rebuild them. The Biden administration has been kind of in the middle so far. The first thing that you can say is looking into the current Microsoft buying Activision thing, which is the US government, as opposed to the EU, seems pretty high, like hands off on this. They haven't said a whole lot. The EU, however, a very strong regulation kind of government, is trying to tear it apart. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting question, but if at least the president has his eyes on it, at least the public is screaming out, as they are right now, talking about how bad of an experience this was, I think some things can change, and this is the moment. So wherever you are, Eddie Vedder, you better be smiling. Because again, just as a reminder, this is not new. People have been talking about Ticketmaster fees for 30 years now. Pearl Jam made it their entire thing to be like, we're not working with Ticketmaster. We're boycotting Ticketmaster venues. Like, we're not doing it. That was in the 90s. Somebody posted on my Twitter, a screenshot of an episode from The Simpsons in season 7. So that's like 1996. That was Burns joking about, Mr. Burns joking about, well, you laughed when I bought Ticketmaster. 100% service fees is great for business or something like that. It's like, these jokes are not new. Like, this is old news. Like, Ticketmaster has been an evil corporation forever. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this is the moment. I'm hoping that Taylor ushers in. Because Taylor deigned to go back on tour, it will bring Ticketmaster to its knees. I hope this is the world we live in, because that would be weirdly symbolic.
Well, it's also not like Ticketmaster had ways to prevent people from buying exorbitant amount of tickets.
Honestly, you just cap it at 4.
No,
maybe try that.
You cap it at 2.
You cap it at 2. Brutal.
They literally did it for the Taylor Hawkins concert.
Yeah, they could have
in Europe and in LA.
Well, whatever it
they
is,
they did fan sale, so you can't resell it. They literally have blocks in place that they could have used.
This is why competition matters, because if there was another big ticket company that was doing stuff differently, Ticketmaster would have to adapt. They would have to change, but no one is forcing their hand. No one is there. No one is big enough to challenge them. And that's a problem. And that creates fiascos like this. So, yes, both things can be true, is what I'm saying. The website could not have been built for this kind of, could not have anticipated this demand. Yes, that's correct. Like, Ticketmaster, as Ticketmaster exists, was never going to be able to do this, was always going to be a disaster. Yes, that can also be true. At the same time as Ticketmaster needs to be better and it needs to have competition, both of these things can coexist. So, like, I feel like most of the public is on board with this, but I'm just saying, for those few of you who are defending Ticketmaster for some bizarre reason out there, trust me, there are things that they could do, even if they're saying and making these excuses that do have some validity toward them. So that's how I feel about this whole thing. Hopefully we'll see some movement on this government intervention. But if not, well, I hope the people who did get tickets enjoy that show, because there might not be anything like it going forward as long as it works like this. Just saying. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, Taylor, Ticketmaster, possibly story of the year.
It got to be one of them.
It's got to be up there.
A real latecomer here, but it's got to be music-wise.
I mean, it's latecomer, but boy, is it like picking up steam.
Yeah, music-wise, this is going to matter, and this is going to be one of those that we see trail into 2023.
Yeah, that may not be our story of the year, but may trail into like coming down the line.
Like, these shows start in March.
Yeah,
her tour starts in March, and so there's not a whole lot of runway till we start having these shows happen. Those tickets, if there are tickets left, they've got to sell somehow. How is the question? How does Ticketmaster do it? Is it just to the waitlist people, and how many of them? And when do they let those waitlist people in, and how long is that going to take?
And is it random waitlist?
Is it random still? Do they have the site to do it at all anymore? There's a lot of questions to be asked. Ticketmaster's got to answer it, and now they have to answer to the president. It's going to be an interesting couple of
Congress, not president.
But you know what I mean.
That's to the U.S. government now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And meanwhile, if you're Taylor, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what she's going through right now. Like, yeah, she should be pissed. She absolutely should be pissed.
You know what she should do?
Make her own ticket company?
Well, yes.
A lot of people are saying that Jenny Lewis, formerly of Rilo Kiley and her solo career on Twitter today, was added Taylor and was like, "Hey, you gonna make a new ticket company? I'm with you if you do."
Called Swift Ticks.
Yeah, people were saying that exact thing. It's like, because that's the branding the Ticketmaster is using for her.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's like Swift Ticks. That's all we need. It's a good name, right?
It is.
It like implies like, I'm going to get tickets. I'm going to get them fast.
Yep.
That's smart. It's a better name than Ticketmaster.
Yes.
Although Ticketmaster is really apt name when you think about it. They're like an overlord that like decides when you get tickets, which is true.
Yes. Please, Ticketmaster. I want
Ticketmaster.
some more.
Anyways. All right. Believe it or not, that's only the.
Oh no! So my second thing that she should do is partner with pay-per-view, make it all live.
No, you know she's gonna put that thing on streaming somewhere.
Yeah, or you could make half the cut from pay-per-view.
Well, the fun thing is that traditionally she does the concert video on the last day of tour, which will be at SoFi.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm very excited to see, because yeah, that will probably be the only way I see this. Because I am not getting tickets to this thing. I can tell you right now. There will be some sort of miracle if either of us get that text message. I don't think it's happening.
No. See, I'm just going to do what I always do is like hit refresh day of, find a good price ticket.
If the site still exists.
If it exists.
Yeah, if you can even refresh that page without getting some sort of breaking error.
Well, here's the good thing. Because it's in LA, we got 5 dates to choose from.
It's really funny, though. I was watching some TikToks the day of, and people were like, there was one that was like, "Oh, if you're a coder, try this." And it's like somebody going into the Chrome like where you can read the thing, and they were like, "You can see what number you are in line." It was literally like tens of thousands.
Yes.
He was like. Anyways, all right. So that's it for Ticketmaster. I'm sure this will be a recurring story. We'll give you updates as it goes on.
Yep.
And I swear to God, yes, we will talk less about Taylor in 2023. I promise. But we could not cover this.
No, this was literally the biggest story of the week.
And that's
even bigger
with Grammy nominations.
Yeah, with the Grammy nominations.
Let's get into it.
All right. So the biggest surprise about 2023
is how goddamn boring they were. But yes, also that.
But yeah, of 2023 Grammy nominations is that they were announced early on Tuesday, and I think we both forgot about them.
I totally forgot. You had to text me, and I was like, "Oh, that's right, this is happening." And by the time I turned it on, there was only like 5 more things, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay, that's it."
Well, it was like a popcorn thing. It was all on YouTube to being live streamed.
It wasn't as interesting when they did this as when they did the stream last year, because last year there was a little bit of like a anything can happen, like what the hell are they doing kind of vibe to it. This year, a little bit more professional, which is kind of sad. I kind of liked the unhinged what's his name, Jimmy Allen.
Yes,
Jimmy Allen hosted ridiculousness from last year. That was great. But this year, not as fun.
Yeah. Well, the ceremony was shorter on surprises than it has been in most years.
Pretty predictable.
Yep. Because there was no like weekend fervor at all. There's
no controversy.
No controversies really. Or Effia was the last one, like John Batiste.
Yeah, winning everything.
Yeah, coming around winning things. But being a footnote now, because I haven't really heard much from it, but except from him leaving the Late Show.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was the same old.
It's pretty much what you expected. This year, you had Adele, Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, Harry Styles, Brandi Carlile, and Lizzo.
Yep.
All hitting all your usual suspects.
Yeah.
Getting those nominations.
So I have specifically written down only the 2 biggies, Album of the Year and Record of the Year for nominations real quick.
Yes.
And they're pretty much the same.
Yeah. Album of the Year is for the full album. Record for the Year is per
song for the producers.
For producers.
There are, for the first time, Songwriters Awards this year, should note, beyond Song of the Year. For genre categories.
There's also a first time Songwriters Hall of Fame nomination.
So yes.
As well as video or multimedia, including video games and interactive entertainment.
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing about this is about this year's Grammys are the new categories.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, right. Well, let's just go through what we have in the biggies this year here.
Yeah. So, Album of the Year starts off with ABBA.
Yeah, that new ABBA comeback record.
Yep.
I didn't listen to this. Still.
The Grammys listen to it apparently. Everyone's favorite house, Harry Styles. Harry's house.
Yep.
As expected, the Beyonce album.
Right.
As expected, because it didn't hit last year.
Yep.
The Adele album.
30.
The Bad Summer album.
Yeah.
By Bad Bunny. Mary J. Blige.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize that she put out an album, but sure.
Yeah. Same with Brandy Carlisle.
Yeah. Well, always.
And then Coldplay.
Yeah, weird. I didn't feel like many people were talking about this Coldplay record.
No.
But here it is.
And then, I won't say as expected, but not surprised in any way, both Kendrick Lamar and Lizzo. So,
early ideas about this one. This could really go any way. I feel if Grammys really want a Grammy and be super, super old-fashioned, I could see the ABBA relaunch surprising everybody, Steely Dan style, and taking this away from more recent, more modern artists. That being said, I feel like this is a three-way chance between Beyonce, Adele, and Kendrick here. I feel like they're the most perennial winners here on this list, especially Beyonce, who is now tied with her husband, Jay-Z, with 88 nominations apiece, which is record. I could see Beyonce doing this. Also, this is a very strong Beyonce record. It's probably my favorite of the three, if we're talking about Adele, Beyonce, and Kendrick here. I think Harry has an outside chance, depending on the average age of the voting populace of the Academy.
Yes, but he did get a lot of nominations in all the other categories, too.
Right. So, yeah, I honestly don't know if there is a favorite here. It seems like there are enough strong competitors here that I honestly don't know what Grammy does.
Here's my $1 bet at a 500 to 1 shot that Bad Bunny is going to win.
It's certainly possible. Bad Bunny is the biggest artist on the planet right now. I know I said that about Taylor earlier, but I feel like I'm probably underselling Bad Bunny's popularity, especially in Spanish-speaking countries.
Yeah.
And I think that probably maybe edges out Taylor, honestly, at the end of the day. So yeah, you might have a point there, but it's also the Grammys.
Yes, it's
and
also the Grammys.
Fairly English focused.
It's why I put my $1 bid on the 500 to 1 shot. That is,
maybe
they actually branch out for once.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
And give it to the Latin artist.
I was gonna say, especially an organization that runs a Latin Grammys.
Yes,
I don't know, but we'll see. And then we have record of the year.
Yes, we have a record of the year going to a lot of these names may sound familiar.
Yes, same.
ABBA,
names.
Adele, Beyonce, Mary J. Blige, Brandy Carlisle, featuring Luda.
No, not Ludacris. Lucius.
Lucius. I thought that was a weird
comment. I wish. That'd be great.
Doja Cat, Steve Lacy, Kendrick Lamar, Lizzo, and Harry Styles.
A few notes on this one. You see a little bit more entry for people who had big Hot 100 hits here, including Steve Lacy and, of course, Harry Styles here and Doja Cat, which livens up this category at least a little bit compared to the stodgy Album of the Year category here. I think Harry Styles has a chance in this category because As It Was absolutely a dominating song all year. I could see that being an outside choice. I think Beyonce has a strong shot with Break My Soul. Kendrick pick here is odd because it's not off of the record. It's the one up for record of the year is actually The Heart Part 5, which was his pre-release song before Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was released. So I don't know about Kendrick's chance here. I also could see maybe this is the outside place where you do see Mary J. Blige or Brandy Carlisle pull an upset because they're probably stronger here than they are outside. Although I don't know anybody who have heard either of those songs outside of yesterday. Again, TikTok, I went on there and somebody was like, wait, what is this Brandy Carlisle song? And they had to go to YouTube to find it. And they were like, really, this is it? And so I'm getting a vibe where Grammy's going to Grammy and they're going to pick something by a Grammy-friendly artist that literally no one has heard.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. This is another one that could go several ways. Maybe even Lizzo here?
Maybe.
About Damn Time was also kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Although as a song, I don't think it's as strong as It Was or some of the other ones on this So I don't know. This Grammys, like I said, kind of boring, kind of predictable, and could go any way.
That's you could say it's boring and predictable, but the fact that it can go anyway kind of contradicts
Well,
that.
the
How boring and
nominees
predictable
are
it is.
predictable. The winners could go either way. Those are two different things. But honestly, though, if they're trying to get people to watch this, they are not doing a good job because there's nothing interesting here. It's just too business as usual. The weird stuff is the new categories and also some of the smaller genre categories, like hardcore band Turnstile, beloved by the hardcore scene and the indie scene, ends up getting 2 nominations this year out of nowhere for Grammys. And one's in the rock categories and one's in the metal categories. Make up your mind, Grammy voters. Yep. And then the other weird thing here is that after last year, with the rock song category being largely dominated by women, 0 women are represented in the rock category this year. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side of that, the alternative
Ozzy
category
Osbourne was in several of those.
What? And then the flip side, though, every band in the alternative rock category has at least 1 woman in it. However, Arcade Fire is one of those bands. And so, there's no accounting for, taste. Also, Morgan Wallen, weirdly, not a whole lot of looks here at the Grammys after being kind of showered at the CMAs. Yeah. So, who knows? All over the map here.
Are you going to talk about Shay Long?
What do you have to say?
I don't know. He got nominated.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
With Wet Legs.
Yeah. Yeah, Wet Leg. Grammy nominated multiple times, including for Best New Artist.
Yes, that's
what a weird Best New Artist this year.
Yeah,
by the way.
Best New Artist, weird categories because you have Wet Leg, you have Anita, and then you have Måneskin.
Yeah, Måneskin really making a try again for
relevancy.
For I don't get it. I just don't get the Måneskin thing. Yeah. I feel like I missed something. Like what's so interesting about them? But
they're the next ABBA.
Are they? They're not even close, though.
Well, they both won Eurovision.
Yeah, that's it.
They both went on a U.S. tour.
That's the only thing they have common.
Yep. Hey, they're just following their footsteps.
Call me in another 10 years when somebody writes a musical about them. Then we're talking.
Mamma mia.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else to say about Grammys? Or until we wait till February?
Yep, we're going to wait till February, get closer.
We'll see.
And then I didn't listen to anything.
No, not this week. Kind of another holding pattern kind of week. As we get into the holidays, less and less is going to be the beast. So start making those top 10 lists.
Yep, start getting back into those albums. Yeah. Start making some top 10 lists.
Exactly.
Or top 5
top 5s for us, but everyone else. Top
yep. All right, so let's move right in over to video games.
Yes.
And we start with new releases, beginning with Evil West, out for everything but the Switch.
Yep.
Gungrave Gore, or Gungrave G.org, G.O.RDE.
Yeah.
Everything but the Switch.
Yep.
Ship of Fools for PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch, and PC. A new console releases plus Switch. And lastly, your big release.
I guess release, by default.
By default, your wide release, Ubisoft's Just Dance 2023.
But not as wide as you think, because for some reason
it is only on new consoles.
Yeah.
PS5, Xbox Series X, and the Switch.
Leaving PS4 and Xbox One in the cold, at least for now. Maybe they're later. But hey, Just Dance is out. Time to dance.
How do you do motion controls with the Xbox?
So my understanding is that it interfaces with the camera, with the Kinect. Or it did.
With the Kinect. Okay, I thought they discontinued the Kinect, though.
Use the Kinect. I don't know what they do now. There is a camera you can buy for the Xbox, though. That's not Kinect camera. So I don't know.
Just Xbox.
That's a good question, honestly. I never thought about that. What do you do?
Because I know the PlayStation has both the camera and the move controls.
I wonder if it's with your. I wonder if it's a phone thing. That would make some sense.
You connect it to your phone camera.
Yeah, or maybe you hold the phone. I don't know. That's a good question. I have never played a Just Dance game. That's a fun fact about me. So I don't know, honestly.
Well, the Just Dance thing, you move your body,
Wii,
and then also because of the Wii and the Switches, you can move the controllers.
Even the DualSense does that. I don't know. Okay. Good question.
If it's on Game Pass, maybe someone will find out.
It's not on Game Pass. I think it might be as part of your Ubisoft Plus or whatever they call that thing, though.
All right.
Anyway,
let's get into some video game news.
Yeah, some weird ones this week.
Yeah, and we start with a former Sonic team head and Sonic the Hedgehog programmer Yuji Naka
and co-creator
has reportedly been arrested in relation to the ongoing Square Enix insider trading investigation.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this yet, but this has kind of been happening over Japan for a few weeks here.
Yep, Japanese news site FNN Prime Online reports that Naka is now the latest suspect in a case regarding insider trading surrounding a new Dragon Quest game. On Thursday, 2 former Square Enix employees were arrested in Tokyo as part of a suspected insider trading scheme. Taisuke Sasaki and Fumaki Suzuki were arrested for acquiring stock in Japanese developer Aiming shortly before it was announced that it was working on a new Dragon Quest game.
So a little bit to unpack here. So this does not just affect Naka. However, Yuji Naka has quite a year. Mm-hmm. In the calendar year of 2022, this is what has happened. So late 2021 or mid 2021, he put out a game with Square Enix called Balan Wonderworld. Got panned, terrible reviews, ends up leaving Square Enix, basically burning the bridge with them, saying, well, they mistreated me during the publication of Balan Wonderworld, and was complaining, basically blaming it all on Square Enix. Then proceeds to have a very outsized Twitter look this year by calling out everyone he could, including spilling the dirt on, yes, Michael Jackson did do the music for Sonic 3, among other things, confirming that rumor, and then was just editing people out of photos and stuff like that. He's had quite a year. And also he put out a game on Netflix's downloadable service, I think, this year as well. So he's just been all over the place this year. To culminate at the very end of the year by getting arrested for insider stock trading is quite a little cherry on top for this. Of course, the other side of the story is, yes, the Japanese government does take this stuff a little bit more seriously than the U.S. Government does. I'm sure this kind of shit happens all the time here, and we just don't hear about it. Mm-hmm. But it is very suspicious.
Oh, we heard all about it in 2020.
Oh, well, yes. But yeah, very suspicious here, especially considering how many people at Square Enix were involved with this. So yeah, this is assuming that he was involved in this while he was still at Square. So yeah, it's wild stuff. But it's an ongoing story as well. So I'm sure we'll hear more in whether or not he gets released. I'm sure there's bail going to be involved here shortly. Yuji Naka is not a broke person. So yeah, we'll figure it out. I just don't know how punitive the Japanese law system is. So we'll find out.
But yeah, insider trading.
Weird. Very weird. Yeah.
Speaking of weird.
Yeah.
That Saints Row game was weird.
Yeah, it's so weird that the ownership company Embracer Group has made some changes with Volition.
Yeah, because Volition will soon become part of Gearbox following a disappointing reception to that Saints Row reboot.
Yeah.
In a statement released alongside Embracer Group's second quarter earnings results, CEO Lars Wingefors explained that Volition will be switching operative groups from PlayOn.
Yeah, PlayOn.
The
company formerly known as Koch Media.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, Koch Media. Nothing to do with the Koch brothers, just an unfortunate name. They changed it.
To PlayOn.
PlayOn.
So they'll be switching operatives to Gearbox Entertainment.
Right.
Quote, the reception of Saints Row did not meet the full expectations and left the fan base partially polarized. The game development studio, Volition, has been working hard to improve the player experience. Financially, Saints Row has performed in line with management expectations in the quarter. Going forward, Volition will transition to become part of Gearbox, which has all the tools, including an experienced management team in the U.S., to create future success at Volition. This is the first internal group transfer where a major studio has transitioned between operative groups.
In Embracer, at least.
Within Embracer. But it's also not necessarily going to be the last
so
one.
It looks like they're considering doing this for other smaller companies under their umbrella as well. Makes sense for them. Less different studios to keep track of. And they can focus on the big money-making franchises, which I bet is why they're being moved into Gearbox. Gearbox, of course, recently said that after the success of the Tiny Tina spinoff of the Borderlands franchise, that they were going to make that its own franchise. So, with more Borderlands universe games being in development probably at once, they're going to need more manpower. Volition is a built-in team that they can just be like, all right, you guys are working on Borderlands now. Yeah. It's very easy transition for them to make. So, but there are a couple questions here. One, what does this mean for Saints Row? Is it dead now? Like, can we officially put it to bed? The game did okay. They said more or less that it hit the expectation, surprisingly enough. Yeah. So financially, that's not where the problem is. But critically and reception-wise, they have a PR problem. Yeah. Is that the name Saints Row may be now tarnished. Do I blame them for retiring that brand at this point? No, not really, because they made a crappy game. Like, that's the end of the day.
They shot their shot.
Yeah, you tried, but it didn't work. We've had the good Saints Row games. Maybe it is time for Saints Row to be retired. Maybe do something similar later under the Gearbox umbrella, but don't try Saints Row again. I don't know if it's going to hit again. I think that ship may have sailed. The second question is like, what do they work on? Is it Borderlands? Do they get to make their own Saints Row style game under the Gearbox umbrella? Do Volition continue to do what Volition does, well, arguably best? Or are they immediately put on a shooter team? I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be answered here.
I mean, Saints Row is a shooter.
Yeah, yes, but it's a different kind of shooter. Yeah. And you could also say, well, it's also kind of open world. But no, they're open world in different ways. And I think they're different enough games where it will be a learning curve, I think, for the Volition team to learn how to make a game like the games that Gearbox makes. So, yeah, a lot of questions here. But the good news and ultimately the silver lining to the story is it could have been way worse for Volition. Embracer could have just done what they did with the Saints, or with the former IDOS Montreal team, and just been like, too bad, you guys are gone. They didn't do that. Instead, they gave everybody Volition jobs, and that's important here to note.
Don't be surprised, though, if some of the team members, especially in the head team, decide to leave.
Maybe this is the time. Yeah. You're probably right. If there are people in leadership roles or lower that want to get out, this is probably the time to do so. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. But we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Now that all the news is out of the way,
yes,
here's your soapbox. You've played a game.
I played a game.
You played a game of a franchise that you've been passionate about for quite some time now.
Yes. So it's that time of year again. There's a new generation of Pokemon. We get one every once in a while. The new generation is here. The fourth Pokemon games released on the Switch. We had Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. We had Sword and Shield. We had Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl. I'm getting those reversed. And now we have Scarlet and Violet, the 9th generation of Pokemon.
Are you not counting Arceus in that?
Shoot, you're right. There have been 5.
Are you not counting Pokemon Snap on that?
That doesn't count. Okay. It's a spinoff. But anyways, yes, there's been a lot of Pokemon on Switch, and Violet and Scarlet are the new proper Pokemon generation games. They're officially out in the world this week. I have played the first 2 hours. And oh boy, I have complicated feelings about this game so far. So when the review embargo lifted the day before release on Thursday, immediately out of the gates, a pretty consistent opinion showed up throughout all of these reviews, which was, man, this game is ambitious. Game Freak's really trying a lot of cool things here. The open world works as intended. The ability and freedom to do whatever you want in any order is really cool and does change up the franchise for good. But wow, what is happening with this game's engine? People are reporting constant frame rate issues, pop in from textures and elements from far into the frame. literal stutters and stops during animations, cutscenes that like judder a little bit when they're transitioning between scenes. Overall, disappointing like graphic quality, whether it be on textures or up close characters, especially when docked. And just overall vibe that the game's engine just was not ready for release. And yeah, after playing the first 2 hours of the game, I have to say I agree wholeheartedly with the general opinion about these reviews. I think it's doing a lot of cool things. In a lot of ways, the changes, like the like quality of life changes they've made here, are all stellar. There are so many little things that they've changed that even in after Sword and Shield, which I thought were a huge upgrade in quality of life for the franchise, this is even better. And they've combined that with a lot of innovation that they did with Arceus, including having the ability to auto battle by having a Pokemon already out. So if you're just wandering around, that Pokemon can kind of like find items for you, battle Pokemon without you even having to direct it to, and kind of like get that level up process a little smoother than it used to be. You can see the Pokemon, no more random battles. You literally can walk around, so you're no longer having that classic Pokemon experience of, I'm just trying to get to the Pokemon Center, and I'm almost dead. Why can't I get there without running into 5 more Pokemon I have to battle? No longer. All of that frustration is in the past, and the freedom is really tantalizing. I just got to the point in the game where it's like, all right, we've given you your 3 different paths you can follow, the badge path, the Titan path, and the team path, basically. And here you go. You're out. You can tackle them in any order. You can go wherever you want. Go for it. You might run into a place that has like level 50 Pokemon that you can't run into, but that's on you. You did that. Go somewhere else. That's the vibe. And I think that's great. That's really exciting. It changes the dynamic of a Pokemon game. It never longer feels like it's a linear thing that you're like, well, this guy is standing in my way, literally on the edge of town saying, you can't go here until I get my chocolate bar or something like that. Like
there's a Snorlax in the way.
Yeah, exactly. None of that. That's all gone. And I think it's for the better. I think it makes an exciting version of the future.
Because like certain Pokemon scale up in levels, is that their way of basically pointing you like, oh, don't go this way. You got level 40 and 50 Pokemon.
I mean, it's not too dissimilar to what games like Zelda Breath of the Wild do, which is there's just going to be places that aren't intended for you to be able to do until you're later in the game. So it's not artificial scale like some games do, like Borderlands. This is not a situation, and I think a lot of people are actually torn by this decision. A lot of people are thinking like, well, what happens if I do one of the other things first, one of the other trails first, and then come back to do the badges? Then I'm going to be like level 50 when I'm beating the first gym. Well, the game does not account for that. This game does not scale for you. So, for example, if you come back to that with level 50 Pokemon, you'll be still battling level 11 Pokemon at that gym or whatever it is. That doesn't change. So, yes, you will probably tear through the badge championship if you do one of the other trails first. But that's a choice you're making. You could do, as the game was probably designed, everything kind of like as a smorgasbord approach and do everything at the appropriate level if you wanted to. So, for example, I'm in this city right now. Off the outskirts of the city, there's one gym leader here. There's one Team Star base, and there's one Titan in this cave over here. You could do all those 3 while you're in that area, and all of those would be appropriate for the level that you're at right now. Or you could not do that and be like, well, I want to do every single mainline badge first, finish Victory Road, be done with that, then start the Team Star stuff. But no matter what, you're going to have to start basically with level 12 Pokemon when you do that. It's an interesting dynamic. And I think that people are going to be torn by that. I think there are going to be people who are disappointed by like, I can't believe I had to go by and like do this cakewalk when I just finished this really hard challenge. But other people who are not as concerned about challenge like me are going to be like, that's great. Awesome. I can just tear through all the 8 badges. And when I come back, this is awesome. I've never felt more powerful. So
that's what I'm thinking. Like if you do either the Titan or the scavenger hunt first, then it's like, all right, now that I've basically journeyed through everything, let me go and tear through all you gym people.
Which why I'm kind of like, I think the approach that I'm going to do starting today is I'm going to do the team stuff first. I think because I'm compelled. I want to know what's up with Team Star. I want to know because I actually am curious about the story part of this game. Most people are probably going to do the gem badges first because that's just it's in Pokemon players' DNA to do that, and so I understand why you would want to. But I think it'll be interesting to kind of defy the game's expectations and be like, well, I want to test this game and see what
you want to see if you're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, like I'm just curious about it, and I think the fact that this game allows you that freedom is really cool and really exciting. But then there's the technical stuff. So I have run into every single thing that I have been warned about in the reviews. The pop-up is bad. Like you'll just be like loading into an area and trees will just start showing up. You'll be in the middle of a catching animation for a Pokemon, and then like textures that weren't there, grass textures will just be like, all right, we're here now. And I'm like, what? The cutscene stuff is, in my opinion, the worst stuff because
pre-rendered.
The cutscenes looked pretty good. No, nothing's pre-rendered. Oh. Everything is real time. But I think that's to its detriment because it doesn't look good. Like at the end of every cutscene, there's just a little bit of a judder where I'm like, oh, that really takes me out of the moment. And it's just, it's disappointing is what it is because Arceus ran better than this. Not that much better, but it did. Sword and Shield was not maybe an ideal looking game and also wasn't doing the ambitious open world stuff as much. It did in the wild areas. Well, this is like if the whole game was wild area. The wild areas in Sword and Shield were often this frame rate would just completely break down, especially if you were online. This is no different, and it's throughout the whole game. I think the actual graphic work is better. I think the Pokemon look better, the characters look better. They did a lot of work, especially with interior. I think the lighting and textures and stuff in the inside of buildings look really good. But just as a heads up, there aren't a whole lot of interiors in this game to start with. I just want to warn you. If you go into a city expecting to be able to walk into all the clothing stores and food stores, I got news for you. They're menus now. You just go up to a door, you go in, and you're expecting like like to go inside. Yeah. No, you're faced with a menu where you get like illustrations of things you can buy. I think people are going to be disappointed by that.
I mean, that's what they did at Arceus, where you couldn't go in, but they also had the open shops. Like, here's the open stand.
There is a lot of that here.
There was also like houses that you could go in and interact with.
So not as many houses here beyond the first like opening areas and the school that you're in. But and they do the same kind of outdoor approach with Pokemon centers. Pokemon centers are outdoor things now. You go to a thing that's outside.
A mobile.
You do not go inside a building for a Pokemon center.
What?
I know, it's wild.
Where am I supposed to save?
It's wild. You can save anywhere.
You save in a Pokemon center.
Well, you don't have to anymore.
You always save in a Pokemon center.
Anyway, so yeah, and so the question I think a lot of people are asking is, where does the blame go for the technical stuff? And there's two camps, right? It is, well,
Camp Scarlet, Camp Violet.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but the question is like, could Game Freak, under the umbrella of Pokemon Company, which, as I mentioned, is co-owned by Nintendo, the creator of the platform it's on, what's their excuse? Why couldn't they make a game runs as solid and consistently as a Nintendo game like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey or any of their games, or Kirby Forgotten Land? Why do these Game Freak games look and run as bad as they do? What's the excuse on their end? Are they just to the limit of their abilities with just the number of Pokemon that they have to render here, which is the excuse they gave in Sword and Shield? Or Camp 2, is it the Switch? 2022, the narrative about the Switch has been, these games are great, but they are hindered by the abilities of the Switch. When Bayonetta 3 came out, all the reviews were like, this would be way better if this was a PlayStation 5 or a Xbox Series X game. The game clearly is ambitious enough and it wants to do these things that the Switch just isn't powerful to do. What if we did see this game on a platform that's not Switch? People probably could ask the same thing about Scarlet and Violet. You did before the podcast. You were like, what if someday we aren't throttled by Nintendo consoles with Pokemon games? What if we did live in a world where you could play Pokemon Scarlet on a PC, for instance, and all the floodgates are open?
And
what does that look like?
That's what they don't want. That's what they worry about, modding it.
And so, yeah, I get where both of those camps are coming from. I think it's a legitimate question to ask, why can't Game Freak just ship in some Nintendo hardware experts and say, what's going on? Can you help us? Can you help us fine tune this game? This is a big release for your platform. Arguably the biggest release Nintendo has in the calendar year of 2022.
Especially for holiday season here.
Like, can you imagine what Nintendo's got to be thinking right now? It's like, it's kind of similar to the Taylor Swift thing, right? There's only so many times Taylor could say to Ticketmaster, make sure that this doesn't break when you put it out. Nintendo's got to be the same thing, like to Game Freak, right? Like, this is a Pokemon game. This is huge. Make sure it doesn't break when it comes out. It's the same conversation, right? So what is keeping Game Freak from being like, well, please help us, get your technical engineers over here, because you see how this thing is running, and this is a final copy of this game. This should not be released in this state.
So I guess the question becomes, is the Pokemon Company and by an extension Game Freak in it to make Pokemon games?
Yeah.
Or in it to make merchandising?
That is, I've seen a certain quadrant of the internet ask that very question. Is it the Pokemon Company is, skewed so much toward the business end of it that they're like, well, we have to release it at this day no matter what, because that's when all our merchandise deals go through. Is it really that like nefarious? I don't know. I'm kind of split. I think that both, it's one of those other situations where I think both can be true. I think Game Freak needs to work with Nintendo and figure out how to patch this game so it runs better. I think that is 100% true. This was released at a state that it should not have been, and I think is going to be a PR nightmare. To a certain extent, is it still going to sell? Of course it is. It's a Pokemon game. It's going to be their best-selling game of the year, and it's November. It's still going to do it. It's, it's the Taylor Swift Midnights of the video game industry. It doesn't have much runway. It's still going to be the best-selling thing in the world. On the other side of that, though, it's also true that Nintendo probably it's past time to think about a new console. The Switch is old. The Switch is clearly at the end of its life cycle. You can't make games this scale, this ambition on the Switch anymore. We've hit the wall.
What happens when Breath of the Wild 2?
That's going to be the test, right?
What's it called? Tears of the Kingdom comes out?
Right. I don't know.
And then it breaks because the power of that engine ends up breaking the Switch.
I don't know. It's the last test of this platform. Unless they pull a Breath of the Wild 1 and it's like, oh yeah, and this is also on the next generation console. Surprise! We're launching it in spring. They could still do that. Game
Switch
Awards,
2?
like in the Game Awards reveal, just like Microsoft did with Series X. It could happen. Like Switch 2, Super Switch, spring, coinciding with
Game Switch.
Yeah, whatever they do with it. It's like, it could happen. I don't think so. But it could happen, and maybe that's the surprise.
Switch 64.
Do we get Redux version of Scarlet and Violet then with that run better? Who knows? There's a lot of questions here.
What we do is we get Mario Kart 8 Super Deluxe.
Super Deluxe, yeah. So the last thing I'll say is it's a Pokemon game. If you like Pokemon games, you would largely know what you're getting into, except, like I said, a lot of very cool, interesting ideas and a lot of freedom that's new to the franchise and a lot of choices you can make. All very exciting. But just go into it knowing that you're buying into an experience that's going to be choppy, hard to look at, and is going to be unpleasant to play a lot of the time.
So you bought this day one.
I pre-ordered it the day before, yes.
Yeah, you bought it day one. You've been playing it since day one.
Yeah.
Are you happy with your purchase?
You know what? Ultimately, I am. I feel like the game is interesting enough and is checking the boxes I wanted to check and has enough interesting potential so far that I am still on board with it. I'm still having a good time, and I still think that it warrants people I think if you like Pokemon, you should still check this out. But I just the technical stuff it should not have been released in this state. I feel like I can have both of those things coexist in my head. I think I can be disappointed by the way that this game looks and feels, while also being like, they made a really good game. They made a really good Pokemon game. That's just true. It's just, it sucks that it's hampered by this.
Now, would you be fine with gifting it to someone? Like, here, you play this experience now.
Well, I bought it digitally, so I cannot gift it to anyone.
No, I mean, if you're buying a Christmas gift for someone.
I did. I bought it as a late birthday present for Christy, and I still think that it's okay. Also, the other thing to mention here that I don't think video game reviewers really think about a lot, and people who are deeply internet pilled don't think about a lot, which is people like Christy, like people who are not deep embedded into the video game
Casual
thing,
gamers.
they can barely tell that this is not running well. She like when I point out bad frame rates in some of the games she plays, a lot on the Switch, for instance, she doesn't notice. She's like, "Oh, I didn't even think about it." So there's going to be a lot of people who probably play this game and don't even think about the technical problems, which is fine because this game is selling to that crowd. Pokemon games are huge mass market games. It's just people like
LCDs.
Yeah, people who care about that kind of thing are going to go into this and be like, "This is embarrassing. This is awful." So it really depends on what your level of, I guess, expectation is, like how much it takes to take you out of the moment. And for me, I guess, is doing enough interesting stuff and it's still being that Pokemon experience that I want, that it doesn't quite cross that line for me. But that's an individual line. You paint that line yourself. You make that call. So check out footage of the game, look at videos online, pay attention if you're like somebody who follows a lot of influencers who are going to play this. See what they're saying about it. See what your favorite Twitch streamer is saying about it.
Be influenced by influencers?
Yeah, I know, right? And like make your own decision here. If you think this is worth the $60 that's going to cost to play this game, or if you want to wait.
Well, that's why I asked you, like, are you happy with your purchase?
I am. But again, my line is different than a lot of people's lines. So it's going to be an individual. Regardless, they need to fix this game. Period.
Like,
there's got to be a
update patch.
There's got to be a patch because this is embarrassing. This is where I'm at right now. Like Nintendo, if they weren't already, needs to be in there being like, okay, what's going on? Because it's that bad. But I still think the game is good.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a complicated thing to sell. I think you're right to ask those questions because it's like, I don't know if I can recommend this to everybody, but I can definitely recommend this to people like me. But beyond that, yeah, it's a good question.
Okay. How are the new Pokemon designs? Cover anyone that they haven't revealed already?
Yeah, a couple of like bug types that I haven't seen before. But mostly they did reveal a lot of the early guys. I just caught a Fido, the dog made out of dough, which is just the cutest thing in the world. Yeah, so I haven't seen a lot of Pokemon left yet.
Did you call him Best Bread?
It's good. It's good. But no, I forget what I named him. But yeah, so far so good. Pokemon design wise, I really like the designs, and the trainer design is really, really cool.
Oh, yes, that's what I was going to ask you next. Customization.
Okay, so asterisk about that. You can buy accessories, hairstyles, and you can change the like makeup and stuff and like how your like face looks. You cannot buy, at least where I'm at right now, and I don't think so from what I saw, you cannot buy clothes outside of socks and gloves and hats. So accessories, but you have 4 seasonal outfits that are your school uniform, basically. There's a spring, a summer, an autumn, and a winter. Your default to the summer at the beginning of the game. At any time, though, even from the beginning, you can change between those 4.
Okay.
But that's it. From what I understand, I don't believe you can buy new pants or shirts or coats.
Is that just because it's school uniforms?
That's my guess, is that they figured like, well, you're in, even though most of the game takes place as your independent study and you're not on campus.
Outside of campus.
Apparently there's still some sort of thing where you're like, well, you have to wear the school uniform.
Otherwise you don't represent the school.
Which actually plays into this Team Star stuff, because Team Star is basically made of like rebellious students who don't show up to class, and so they are also wearing the outfits, but theirs are like the shirts untucked and the shorts are shorter and stuff like that. So it's like,
no,
that's cute.
They're like the rebellious short shorts,
right? Exactly. And so so they're working within those limitations, but like, let me buy stuff. Let me like.
I wonder how much of that is like cultural like limitations.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is supposed to be based on like the Iberian Peninsula, so Spain and Portugal. So I don't know how tough they are about school uniforms over there. Good question. And this morning, Christy made the joke. She was like, "Yeah, but if I play the end of the game, do I graduate and then can I buy clothes?" And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works, but that's very funny. So we'll see. I'll play more of this and I'll give updates as necessary. It's probably gonna take a while to finish this, but I'm already enjoying it, and I want to play more of it. But yes, I really hope they fix the technical problems.
All right.
That's where I'm at.
Well,
that's Scarlet and Violet.
I've only played a little bit of God of War because I was out on vacations and stuff. But lots of twists.
Yeah,
I'm really liking it.
Stories going some places.
Yeah, hopefully I'm gonna finish it this upcoming week, and then I'll have my full thoughts next week on it.
And then more Marvel Snap.
More Snap. Yep, still snapping away.
I have put that down. I haven't touched Snap in 2 weeks.
Since I showed you my score?
Yeah, I think so. It scared me away.
It scared me away.
I'm kidding. I just some of those kinds of games just don't grab me. I think mobile games, especially, I have a hard time like having them take over my life. And now with Pokemon, I don't think I'm going to play it because I'm going to go to Pokemon now.
I think you need to like update your deck.
get into a new variant of deck to see.
Yeah.
Make it interesting. I don't know. It's a cool game though. Don't get me wrong. I think it's really good. The other thing, real quick, I did what I said I was going to do. I got back into Vampire Survivors.
Oh, you did?
It is now on Xbox Series X as well. It's on console Game Pass as well as PC Game Pass. It really got me the other day. Right before Pokemon came out, that was my game for a couple of days. I was playing it nonstop. I really, really like that game.
Okay.
I think that's definitely a top 5 for me. You should definitely try out Vampire Survivors. Spend some hours in Vampire Survivors.
Okay. Is it on the...
It's on PC Game Pass.
PC Game Pass?
So you have access to it. Right. I don't know how great it is on a laptop, though.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure how it will work with a touchpad. You can try it.
Okay.
I like it on controller, personally. But maybe you'll still have fun with it.
Maybe I'll still have fun with it.
But yeah, you should honestly at this point you should just Bluetooth a controller.
I will.
That's really what you should do going forward with PC Game Pass stuff.
That's what I did. Except sometimes the PlayStation controller won't. Sync properly with the.
It's tricky.
All right, so Vampire Survivor.
I should just lend you the Xbox controller I'm not using. You should just use that. You can just USB it in and just automatically works.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Especially having a spare one.
Yeah, so that's Vampire Survivor. Still very, very good. I've unlocked a bunch of shit. Whew, that's addictive. So yeah, my top 5 is coming together, I think.
All right.
I think somewhere in that milieu, I think I have Vampire Survivors. I think Tinykins up there. And I think Immortality is up there. I think that's it's maybe those somewhere 3 around there that are kind of floating in my head right now, and I just need to organize them.
Okay, that's because you never finished Breath of the Wild.
I didn't finish Breath of the Wild. You mean Horizon? Well, yeah, I don't have a copy of Horizon to finish it. So yeah, I don't have. I didn't finish Horizon, but Horizon's up there probably too. I played most of that game, or I think I played probably like 5/8 of that game, probably. So a little more than half. And I didn't finish Kirby or Neon White. I need to go back and wrap those up.
Those
Neon White's probably up there though too.
Wow, I'm gonna have a tough time.
It's gonna be a tough video game year.
It's gonna be tough for me.
It's gonna be really hard. And Pokemon might pop in there. We'll see.
All right.
All right. Video games.
Yep. Video games done. All right. Let's move on over into television.
Let's move on to television, where we have also a lot to talk about news-wise, because in the sports corner, where we start every week, it's soccer time, baby.
Yes.
Qatar. Qatar. Yes. Human rights violation in soccer. That's what they got for you. Qatar's World Cup begins tomorrow. And, well, if you wanted a Miller Lite to accompany your soccer watching, too bad. No beer is going to be sold on site at the World Cup games in Qatar.
That being said, Budweiser will still be able to sell beer at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Budweiser Zero.
Right.
The zero alcohol version of Budweiser.
So, yeah, the story about this World Cup, if you've been paying any attention, is that, Qatar, pretty messed up. Human rights records, not great. Alcohol, you can't drink it. Gay, you can't be it. Like, you name it, Qatar's got your number. Although they seem to claim that if you are coming as a fan to this World Cup, you will be accepted. We'll see about that.
About that.
If you're on the other side here and watching it safely from your home, there's a lot of ways to do that. I believe Peacock has a lot of the World Cup games available for their premium subscribers. Also, I just got an email from YouTube TV that apparently they now have a 4K tier where you can watch a lot of World Cup games in 4K, which is exciting if you're into that kind of thing. So yeah, World Cup. If you like that and you don't have a problem watching FIFA games in Qatar, two things that have some issues, then hey, go for it. Soccer.
I mean, it's soccer.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Unfortunately for my hat and the city of Anaheim, the AL American League MLB MVP did not go to Shohei Ohtani as it rightfully should have. Your big homer man, Aaron Judge, took the title, and it wasn't close.
28-2.
Yeah. So,
but then again,
yeah,
everyone's number 2 ballots were switched at 2-28. So it was either you had Aaron Judge or you had Shohei.
Anyway, so yeah, disappointing when you consider Aaron Judge had a good season and Shohei Ohtani had probably one of the best seasons of all time. Like considering, it's really not. It's really weird to me, but hey, I didn't vote. So
hey, whenever you break the home run record,
then that's what it's going to take at this point. I feel like people are sleeping on how great Ohtani is. It's going to take him to have like the home run record for him to get nominated again. It's like it sucks. It's like
he's nominated, just
to win. It just
he's got one already.
It sucks. What does the man have to do? Does he have to do something else for the first time since the 1900s?
He's already got one. How much does he need?
He needs more. Anyway, and meanwhile, Paul Goldschmidt was your National League MVP.
Yep.
Cy Young winners include Justin Verlander for the American League and Sandy Alcantara for the National League. Those make sense to me.
Yep.
Mariners outfield Julio Rodriguez and Braves Michael Harris II won
Rookie of the
Year. Thank you.
Terry, because you don't know who they are, I had to say who they're from.
Yeah, thank you. Terry Francona won the American League
Manager
of the Year, and Buck Showalter won the National League Manager of the Year.
Do note that is Buck Showalter's 4th team winning Manager of the Year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So he's the only manager to win it 4 times for 4 separate teams.
And then, that's your baseball update. Otherwise, hey, that's it. The awards have been given out. So we are now just patiently waiting until spring training.
Yes.
So, and trades are happening. By the way, your American League MVP, Aaron Judge, still doesn't know what team he's going to. That's fun.
Also, Cody Bellinger from the Dodgers being let go.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
It's quite a transitional season.
I wonder if the Dodgers let him go for a specific reason.
Makes you think. We'll see what happens in the offseason trade-wise. Doesn't look like Shohei's going anywhere. Angels have him locked down.
At least for another year.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in football, don't worry, you 72 Dolphins. You can sit down and relax because
you can pop that champagne.
Yes, because you still have your record. The Commanders won over the Eagles. The Eagles are no longer undefeated.
Yes, unfortunately, 8-1, which ties them with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes, believe it or not.
At 8-1.
One of my video game websites. This shout out to Waypoint over there. Waypoint does a sports podcast now, and so I actually keep up to date on football standings. And so they're talking about like how the Vikings should not have that record.
Yes,
that their season has been a fluke so far.
Well, I think of their 8 wins, 5 of them has been 7 points or under.
Yeah,
4 games.
So but the Eagles seem like the real deal. So
especially when they just acquired Ndamukong Suh for the defensive line.
So I foresee good things in their future, but other than that, we'll see.
Well, it depends on how long they can keep healthy Hurts until he gets hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say the name is not helping. It's an omen, if you will.
I know. Other than that, fantasy football.
Football.
Slipping and sliding and climbing and the chaos that it is.
Gross.
It is. It's gross.
Anything else in sports? Anything in hockey, basketball? Kind of low-key basketball season. I feel like no one's talking about it.
I mean, we're not talking about it because although it's been dominated by Kyrie Irving.
We can't talk about Kyrie Irving.
We're not going to talk about Kyrie Irving here.
The same reason why we don't talk about why I haven't said anything about Kanye West or Dave Chappelle on the show.
Yeah.
Because I just do not have the wavelength to talk about those people.
Yep.
Anyways.
We may talk about them during our end of the year podcast.
We have to.
Well, part of big stories, but yes.
We'll see. Anyway, so basketball is still happening, hockey's still happening, NASCAR is over. What else do we got sports wise? That's pretty much it.
Weather in football a game that was supposed to be played in Buffalo tomorrow on Sunday.
Right, yes.
Got moved to Detroit. Snowed out. 6 feet of snow hitting Buffalo. It's funny because some of their the running backs over there, the NFL put out a little comparison, like the running backs only 5'10", but there's 6 feet of snow.
Yeah, so goes to show you.
Yep.
All right. Well,
but yeah, that game's been moved to Detroit, and then the Detroit and Bills are playing next week as well for Thanksgiving. We'll talk about Thanksgiving games next week probably.
Well, depends on when we record because I believe that will be after Thanksgiving.
Or unless we do a Wednesday show.
Oh, well, let me know.
Anyways, yeah.
I believe I work on Wednesday, so it'll have to be
after
when I get home.
So. Yeah. Anyways, Thursday, Thanksgiving games, NFL, Turkey, Sunday, football, Turkey. Lions, and Cowboys always playing on Thursday, Thanksgiving games.
Always. So get ready.
Get your turduckens in the oven.
Yes, prepare your turducken. Anyway, let's move out of sports.
Let's do the first one without John Madden.
Oh, that's so sad. Don't say that. 21's turducken salute. All right, let's move on to television news. This week, we start with Ellen Pompeo, a.k.a. television's Meredith Grey.
Of Grey's Anatomy.
Yes.
Or should we just call it Anatomy now?
Because, the title character is leaving. The actress, also known as Meredith Grey in the show Grey's Anatomy, shared a sweet goodbye message on Instagram to fans after the fall finale last week marked her final official episode of the season. Quote, "I am eternally grateful and humbled by the love and support you have all shown me, Meredith Grey, and the show for 19 seasons," wrote Pompeo, age 53. I don't know why we need her age here.
I don't know. It's in the story.
Quote, "Through it all, none of it would have been possible without the best fans in the world. You are all riders, and you all have made the ride so fun and iconic."
All capitals.
Yeah. Though Pompeo has been one of Grey's anchors since it premiered in 2005, her decision to scale down her role in the series this year wasn't entirely unexpected. The actress has long been candid about her attempts to convince ABC to end the series.
Yes.
They refused to do that. Meredith's storyline, so far, ended with her character's decision to leave Seattle for Boston, where she accepted a position with the Catherine Fox Foundation to research Alzheimer's disease. There have been far more dramatic and tragic exits on the series.
Yes, there have been.
Meredith's new job certainly leaves the door open to guest appearances in the forthcoming season.
And more likely the finale of, hey, she's back.
Yeah. So, interesting. I don't know how many shows can say that they've lasted long enough for their title character to leave and the character still go. I mean, beyond your offices.
Yes.
I don't know.
Like ER did it.
ER did it, but ER was also more of a, I guess this is
drama. Yeah.
I guess both are more
procedure.
They got a lot of characters on both of these kinds of shows. Yeah. So I don't know how,
West Wing did it.
But to have your character in the title leave is, I think, different and unique.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything that happened like that.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Roseanne.
Yeah, but they didn't call it Roseanne.
Yeah, they changed it to the Connors.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So I don't know. That's a good question. Hey, if you want to write in and tell us if you came up with something, another example of a show where the title character left the show that it was named after, let us know because I'm curious now.
Look, I'm thinking of other shows like John Ritter and 8 Simple Rules, but he was
not in the show.
Without the title character.
Unless you want to really read into the pronoun "my."
Yeah. Well, for dating my teenage daughter,
exactly.
The full length of it.
Full length of it. I don't know. This is a good question.
That's a stumper right there.
It's a stumper. Write in. Let us know if we're wrong. I'll have to ask Christy. Maybe she knows. Anyway,
because actually you want to specify that it's a title character.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's called title. Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy and Grey's leaving.
Grey. Yeah. Grey's leaving. So
these are the questions.
These are questions that need answers.
So yes, walking IMDb is out there. We need you. Yeah. Let's move on to our speaking of IMDb. Amazon is officially moving forward with multiple live-action shows based on Marvel characters, but specifically the ones with television and movie rights owned by Sony.
Yes.
The first series under this deal will be Silk, Spider Society, which was developed by The Walking Dead showrunner Angela Kang, along with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Media Boat favorites, producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Yes.
Kang will serve as showrunner and executive producer on Silk as part of a new multi-year overall television deal she has signed with Amazon. The show follows Cindy Moon, described as, quote, a Korean-American woman bitten by the same spider that bit Peter Parker as she escapes imprisonment and searches for her missing family on her way to becoming the superhero known as Silk. It is unknown at this time whether other Marvel characters will be featured in the Amazon shows. My guess is no. Though Sony currently controls over 900, that's a weird estimate, such characters associated with the Spider-Man franchise. Jesus Christ,
Yes.
900 characters?
Yes, but no, that's not 900 superheroes.
Superheroes, that's just characters.
That's just characters, because it's a lot of like different side characters, like Aunt May, like,
Right,
Jonah Jameson.
The normal ass people that interact with.
Yes, they actually interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah, this is
that only appears in Spider-Man or Spider-Man adjacent comics.
So you see why they're doing
Spin-off
this.
comics.
I see why they're doing this. Sony wants to play hardball with Marvel as long as they can, and they want to keep these rights as long as they can.
Well, it's also Sony's singing it to Disney, like, hey, we have other people we can go to.
We can do this.
We can do this on our own.
And Spider-Man is still an extremely popular character. Mm-hmm. I would argue more popular than many of the MCU characters. And so they want to milk everything they can out of Spider-Man.
As a franchise, Spider-Man alone is up there with the likes of like Star Wars,
yes,
and like Lord of the Rings,
easily,
and like James Bond. Like it's sort of like recognizable characters.
Spider-Man,
it's easily up there, especially in terms of like dollar amounts.
And they're getting the right people behind this. Mm-hmm. I think having Lord and Miller co-sign this, is adding a lot of credibility.
Well, I know we like that side,
even if it's
Amazon. So
just wait until our television list at the end of the year.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll come up. So yeah, like I think this is a good move if you're Sony, but man, if you're Disney, you got to be thinking like, what? How can we stop this? We need this.
Well, I don't know. Do they need? Because Disney still owns the animated Spider-Man. Note that this is specifically live action on Amazon.
Spider-Man, which is so specific for television.
Right, and also it's not specifically Tom Holland Spider-Man, although he may appear depending on how much he's. I doubt it.
I doubt it. They want to do the Venom style approach, which is Spider-Man is somewhere over here, but these are these other characters we own.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is smart in their case to separate themselves. So that way people are not asking them all the time, does this take place in the MCU? Because it doesn't matter.
Right.
So, anyway, so that's interesting. Amazon getting some spider action. Anything else in television? Do we have thoughts? Anything we've been watching?
I didn't watch anything. I noticed I was going to talk about Andor, but I never get around to it.
It's just at this point, you might as well just wait till it's done.
No, it is done. I just need to finish it.
Okay. Well, we'll get there.
Because I keep seeing like different stuff online about people's thoughts are like, yeah, this is good, exactly the Star Wars that we want. And also, people are very burnt out from Star Wars. This is why people aren't watching it. I was like,
both can be
true. Yes.
Yeah. And I haven't been watching anything beyond Jeopardy! Tournament of Champions is heating up.
Yep.
Last night's game. Whoo! What an ending. I honestly, who this could be anyone's tournament. It's great.
So
they're all very even.
Also,
matched.
TV note for your viewing pleasure, I guess. I don't want to say pleasure, but yeah, for your viewing audience, between this upcoming week and then the following week, fall finales will be hitting.
Yeah.
So we'll be getting into December, where it's just going to be a lot of holiday specials and repeats.
So get ready for that.
Yep. And then we'll get a 2-month break and then come back in February after the Super Bowl.
Yep.
For regular TV to return.
So look forward to that. In the meantime, let's move on to cancellations and renewals. Just a couple of shows.
No longer watching.
Actually, you're continuing. One's ending and one continuation this week. Prime Video, Amazon again, is ending Hunters after a second season.
The second season will premiere in January, but they have not been picked up. Okay. They will not be picked up.
And then in the middle of the second season for The White Lotus, HBO has confirmed a third season will be on its way. So more White Lotus.
Yes, and they have confirmed it will be anthology in a new White Lotus location with a new cast.
Smart. It seems to work for them.
Yep.
I hear good things about season 2.
Yes.
I have not watched it, but I heard it's good.
Ooh, I didn't watch last night's episode. We have episodes to watch. Wait, no. What did last night's episode? It's tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
there you go.
Sunday episodes. Yes, I keep forgetting that because like the whole vacation thing's throwing me off a bit.
There you go. And then a couple of deaths this week. Bud Friedman, age 90, comedian and producer and founder of The Improv. So if you have a local The Improv, you have Bud Friedman to thank. Then Robert Clary, age 96, actor, was in shows such as Hogan's Heroes, Days of Our Lives, and The Bold and the Beautiful, so a soap opera staple.
Yeah, got his start becoming a recurring character on Hogan's Heroes, but then later in life, soap opera staple.
There you
recurring
go.
roles.
And that's it for cancellations, renewals, and deaths. We now move into the last segment today, which is movies. And of course, your box office numbers for this past weekend was dominated by the one release, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, with a $181 million debut. That's the record for the year, right?
I think so. It didn't hit 200.
No, but it's also 2022.
Yes.
So it was never going to.
I know.
But hey, that's a good amount. And I'm sure Disney's happy with that number.
Well, especially compared to the number 2 release.
Yeah, all the way down at number 2. Black Adam with another 8 million. Yes, 8 million.
That was your number 2. So
if you were seeing a movie this week, you saw Black Panther.
Yep.
And that's 150 total domestic.
Yeah. So Black Panther did in one weekend what Black Adam has done since its run.
Yep. Number 3, Ticket to Paradise, another $5.9 million. That's at 56. Number 4, Lyle Crocodile. Shawn Mendes is still kicking it with $3.2 million, adding to a $40 million total. And number 5, rounding out your top 5, Smile, still smiling, $2.3 million this week. That crossed the 100 mark is 102. So not bad.
Not bad at all.
Upcoming this week, She Said, which we talked about briefly last week, and 13 Lives, which we talked about last week as well.
Yep.
So wait a minute. This is not this. This was past Friday.
Yeah, this is past
Threw me off because you didn't delete Black Panther.
Yes.
This coming week for your Thanksgiving release.
Yes.
4 movies.
These are Thanksgiving releases.
Yes.
Specifically.
Disney's Strange World, the next Disney Animation Studios film.
Yep.
This is not grabbing me. The trailers for this do nothing for me. I'm not a speculative sci-fi fiction guy.
Right.
And so the fact that this is referencing stuff like that, like your Journey to the Center of the Earth, your Time Machines, that kind of like adventure fiction stuff. Yes. Not my style. So this is not grabbing me. But hey, this is your family.
It's also
movie.
Not a musical.
We also have Bones and All, which every time I see the name for this, I think of that KFC commercial. He ate the bones. Yeah. But it's not that. I don't know what Bones and All is, but I would like to.
It's a horror film. Oh no, I think it's based off a book. Okay. When I hear, I think of the Sandlot line.
Oh yeah.
Of the Beast. He ate them. He ate them bones and all.
Anyway, The Fabelmans. That's your Spielberg Oscar bait semi-autobiographical film.
I'm gonna try and see this.
Oh boy. I don't know, man. Is this the most Spielberg movie that Spielberg has ever Spielberged?
No, the most Spielberg movie that's ever Spielberg is Super 8.
But that wasn't Spielberg.
Exactly.
Well, this is from the mouth. So from the mouth of himself. So we'll see. Co-written by Tony Kushner. So Christy is at least semi-interested in this. Okay. She loves Tony Kushner. Tony Kushner, the playwright who brought you Angels in America. Among other highfalutin play stuff. So interesting choices here. So we'll see. And then lastly, Devotion. What is Devotion?
This is the World War II fighter pilots, air raids, Devotion.
So I think it's safe to say we are now firmly in Oscar Bates' season starting this week.
Devotion starts on the majors.
So you have basically a family movie, a genre movie, and then 2 Oscar Bates.
Yes.
So get ready. Award season's almost upon us.
But coming up next week, for 1 week only, Rian Johnson is in theaters with his sequel to Knives Out.
We still got to get tickets to that. Christy, I don't know if Christy did.
Glass Onion, 1 week only in theaters before it comes out in Netflix Christmas Day.
She was going to try to get Black Friday tickets for us. Okay. I don't know if she actually pulled the trigger on that or on the Saturday, the day after. I'll have to check in with her to see if she actually bought those tickets or not. Because she really wants to see this.
So it's for 1 week only, which means I may be able to see it on Tuesday, probably. Okay. Right. Monday or Tuesday, don't know.
Probably easier to see it then.
But I know I won't be able to see it like over the Thanksgiving break weekend, whatever you want to call it.
You guys are too busy. We're too busy. Like us who don't do nothing with family. We're on our own. Anyways. All right. So there's your new releases. Let's move on to some movie news. Warner They've excised a lot of stuff, but they still are holding on dearly to the Fantastic Beasts franchise and everything Harry Potter.
And really, that Fantastic Beasts franchise is kind of holding on by a thread.
So, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, the most recent release in the trilogy
Which
far,
came out this year. Yes, that was a 2022 release.
Grossed $405 million at the global box office, which made it the first Wizarding World film to break even in its theatrical run.
Yeah, based off a $200 million budget.
Yes. The third film in a reportedly 5-film saga that's planned, at least as of this recording.
Yes.
Pulled in 20% less than the previous entry. However, the screenplay for the remaining films weren't even started by the time the third film opened in April 2022. Months later, Warner Brothers doesn't seem to be prioritizing another chapter in the universe. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, our favorite guy on the Media Boat podcast now, hinted on a recent earnings call about the potential to do, quote, something with Rowling, boo, on another story in the Wizarding World franchise, quote, going forward, unquote. However, he stopped short of specifics. Unless the Fantastic Beasts filmmaking team manages to get cameras rolling in the next 6 months, and that seems unlikely since there's still no script, the fourth movie wouldn't be released until 2025 at earliest.
And that's just for the script, not to mention like planning to get the actors, location settings, and all the other stuff that you normally get.
So, and again, this sucks because one side of it is obviously like, we know that Zaslav does not want to give up on Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. It's one of the only things he doesn't want to get rid of when you're talking about Warner franchises. He wants more Harry Potter content because he knows there's an entire generation of people who grew up with it and still will spend money on it. But the Fantastic Beasts clearly have they've run out of steam. No one cares about it. Mm-hmm. So the choice is, does Warner try it again? If they do, it's going to take a while.
Well, here's the thing: that those Fantastic Beasts films were building up to a Wizarding War,
right?
But what does it say to you as an IP and you as a company if you abandon the war and you never get that war film?
But I think you're giving Zaslav too much credit here. I don't think he cares. I don't think he gives a shit.
And I don't think most of the fans give a shit either.
No, because we've all, like everyone who was a Harry Potter person that I've known personally growing up with that franchise is bailed because of the creators' terrible, terrible thoughts on trans lives. It's like, there's just no reason why, like, they would care, why we would care. Give us a reason to care.
Because it's Dumbledore.
Everything that is possibly with those characters now is tainted.
Because Dumbledore may die in it.
But no one cares. No one cares. That's the thing, is that as much as Zaslav wants to make more of this stuff, this is going to be the reality that he's going to face, which is those numbers are going to continue to go down, not up. And so, but he still thinks that this is going to be successful for them. I don't think it will be. I think it's done. I think it's over. Wrap it up. Pack it up. Take it home.
You know what they need to do? Wizarding World outside of England. Give me a U.S. one. Give me a Japan one.
There's lore for all of those international wizarding schools. So they could do that. They could pull that escape rope if they wanted, but they just
give me a Wizarding World off in the Indian Ocean, off like Singapore area, where it's all underwater. So that's why no one's able to see it. And not like, oh, it's like hidden in a cloak of invisibility around like in the mountains of Ireland or wherever.
Well, whatever they do, it's just, I don't know. I feel like no matter what they do, we all lose, is how it feels. Mm-hmm. Because anything that they do is still going to be in partnership with the creator. And as long as that's true,
because that was written in the contract when she made the first film, is that anything going forward with the Wizarding World,
to have her sign off.
She has to have sign off.
And it sucks because it creates this environment like no matter what happens, she's going to profit from it. Even that video game. It sucks. As much as EA wants to say, we're not like working with her. Mm-hmm. Her name's in the credits and it always will be. Mm-hmm. And that's just the reality of it. So.
Yes, but how prominent does the name in the credits need to be? Like what's the lowest opacity you can put on it?
Shade of gray can you put against that black background?
Shade of Meredith Grey in the background.
Yeah, just Ellen Pompeo. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's go into some movie bits.
The bits.
We start with Alien. Kaylee Spaney is in talks to star in a new Alien film from 20th Century Studios, with Fede Alvarez directing and Scott Free producing.
Scott Free of Scott Free Productions.
I would not be surprised if they greenlit this in the recent success of Hulu's Prey Predator spinoff.
Yes, apparently Fede Alvarez pitched 20th Century Studios this new iteration of Aliens, and they're basically like, yes, we love your idea. We're going to try and fast track this.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
I think there's potential for Alien as a franchise going forward. Let's do it. Let's get into it. All right. What else do we got? Sorry, I was distracted because the color changed on your screen. Bradley Cooper will play Frank Bullitt in Steven Spielberg's next film, based on, of course, Bullitt, the famous classic Steve McQueen character.
Yes, so and movie Bullitt.
Yes, Bullitt. So get ready for car chases.
Yes.
With Bradley Cooper.
We get ready for 1970s car chases.
Hopefully, yeah. If they just keep those muscle cars. Watch it be boring and be like the brand new Mustang. And they're like, oh, come on.
You're just reskinning it with modern day.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious style.
Yeah.
Less family.
Yeah, less family, just Bradley Cooper. Next up, Neil Blomkamp's Gran Turismo movie, yes, based on the video game franchise, begins filming with David Harbour, Archie Madekwe, I hope I said that right, and Orlando Bloom. What the hell do you do in a Gran Turismo movie? I guess we'll find out.
You drive cars very fast.
Yeah, that's all.
They made a Need for Speed movie with Aaron Paul.
They did do that.
That exists out there.
So, hey, big week for car movies, I guess.
So, what are the graphics going to be like on this Gran Turismo game?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is this next gen graphics?
Hey, if it's like the first 5 Gran Turismo games, you crash, you can't tell. You just bounce right off of the car. It's amazing. I don't know how they do it. Anyway, Kristen Stewart is getting in the director's chair for the first time.
Yes, that Kristen Stewart.
Yes, and will direct Imogen Poots in The Chronology of Water. What a name. That sounds boring as shit. But yes, I trust Kristen Stewart. I'm sure it'll be good. And obviously, anytime I get to say, any opportunity I get to say Imogen Poots is a good opportunity. She does. I'm sure she does.
I'm sure she does.
Next up, Walter Hamada.
Lastly here.
Yeah. Walter Hamada sings here. It'll be a different story.
Yes.
Signs a multi-year production deal with Paramount Pictures to be the architect of their horror genre department, with the mission to release several low to mid-budget films per year across theatrical and streaming. This makes a lot of sense. We say it a lot here on the Media Boat Podcast. Horror movies are cheap and they make a lot of money.
You want to point to it? Paramount Pictures is responsible for Smile.
Yes.
In the top 5. It hit $100 million.
Consistently making money. And it's not even October yet. So yes, this is a good time to get somebody in charge, have a unified force for horror films going forward for a studio, and just blanket release them all year, because no matter when you release them, they always do well.
Yes. Note this is not Walter Hamada being underneath Paramount Pictures in their department. This is him through his production company.
Yes, with distribution, I'm guessing, from Paramount.
From Paramount, yes. And it's going to be both Paramount Plus and theatrical release.
But everyone get out of the way. All of these bits get out of the way, because it's time to talk about movie thoughts. The one movie everybody's been talking about, the one that has dominated the box office in the past, the people we need to talk about because we haven't talked about it yet. Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes.
You've seen this movie?
Taylor Swift's Caroline song.
Sorry. Yes, we'll get to Wakanda Forever, but first you also want to talk about apparently Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah. So Where the Crawdads Sing came out earlier this year, thanks to Hello Sunshine.
Hello Sunshine.
And yeah, came out. I didn't see it. It's on Netflix now. I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'll give it some watch. I can burn an hour and a half on it. Interesting storytelling. It's told through present day and flashbacks of the primary girl is Swamp Girl. They call her Swamp Girl in it.
Swamp Girl?
Because she lives in the swamp.
Oh, she's like Shrek?
Yeah, except you
Get off my swamp.
Anyway. So they call her Swamp Girl, and like the whole space like the 1950s. And like the whole town doesn't like her because she's Swamp Girl.
Because she's Swamp Girl. I wouldn't like Swamp Girl.
Yeah. So she gets caught in a love triangle because classic books of teenagers growing
Sure,
up
yes.
do.
Always.
Marsh girl, Marsh
sorry.
Whatever, Swamp Girl, Marsh Girl.
Brandon Marsh Girl?
Yeah, not Marsh. Not Brandon Marsh.
Brandon Marsh Girl?
Brandon Marsh's girl.
That's a movie I would see.
So it's a murder trial, but like it sets up as a murder trial, but they don't go over the actual murder in it. Instead, it's flashbacks of her talking to the lawyer of, you need to know my story in order to save me.
Oh, I see.
So she tells her story of her growing up and how she got involved with the one now dead guy and the two now not spoiler, future husband, guy I really liked, kid. It's told and confusing, like back and forth, because the first kid that she meets isn't the one that ends up dying. And then it's also going to be the second kid that she meets that ends up dying.
Okay. Do you think that maybe the stuff that they're trying with the storyline jumping is a little ambitious?
Oh, it's very ambitious.
It sounds like you're getting a little confused.
Oh, it's very easy to get confused.
Okay. So if you read the book,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but no one does that.
I did.
Okay,
And
yes.
Okay, yes.
They have it start at the murder trial. In the real book, you read her whole background. There's a lot on her upbringing. Then she meets Tate, who they end up getting married, and then they have their thing, but then he leaves and goes to college. So then, and she's all alone living in the marsh. Her dad, everybody left her. It's actually it's sad.
Yeah.
But then this guy Chase, whatever his
Chase
name is.
Jockman.
Chase Rice.
Chase Andrews or whatever. I think
Chase the jock, yes.
Chase is the popular guy in town. He was the quarterback.
Yeah, he's Jockman.
He's intrigued by her, but doesn't want to be seen with her, but wants to,
hang out,
bang her.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he tells her
bang the marsh girl.
Well, hey, you do you. But
but wait, he's engaged.
He tells her he wants to marry her, and then she sees him in town, and blah blah. So there's this big lead up in the book, whereas in the movie they start with the murder trial where she's on trial for murdering him, but she did a really good job covering it up. There's no tracks through the dirt. There's no, and you really don't know she murders him until the very, 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 very end. I threw my book. Anyway.
It was book throwing.
Yeah, it's got a heated book moment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how they did that.
Okay.
And I was trying to remember because Brittany and I saw it when it came out because we had read the book.
Yeah, it came out in the spring, I think.
So with the knowledge of the book, do you think that jumping around timelines makes a little more sense?
Totally.
Since you have the context for it? Okay.
But there were some things that, and neither of us can remember. We had a really thorough discussion. We had a mini book
a little book club,
after the movie, because we were what the heck?
Talk about this.
There's certain emotional things that could have been covered better. There's certain, because so much of it is narrative. It's not
it's internal turmoil.
And I think that's really hard to have on display in a movie.
Especially without a voice of God narration on it.
Even
though they do kind of do that in the beginning, because she does, that's how she's conveying the story in flashbacks, but it doesn't carry through the whole movie.
All right, I have one question though. I need to know.
How's the song?
Yeah, the Crawdads sound good. What song do they sing?
They sing Caroline by Taylor Swift.
I will say, visually, it's very appealing.
Okay.
The movie looks, because there's a lot of descriptive
and
marshiness.
Yes.
I think
how were the cattails?
I think they did a good job with that.
I think that's the one thing that kind of bugged me, is that if the police did their job right and searched her home, they would have found the evidence.
Mr. Policeman, I gave you all the clues.
Yes, Mr. Policeman.
The snowman was there. Snowman was not there. I wish the snowman was there.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that after all these years, why would you still hold on to that evidence?
Why not?
Why wouldn't you destroy it?
Because she loved him.
Yeah. She loved him
enough to kill him.
But he was chasing after her and trying to rape her. There's
Oh,
like
wow.
more
Yeah,
to the
okay.
story. Like you're missing important.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I want to
parts.
keep something super trauma
She was
around.
No, but she was gonna get beat to
Hey,
death.
trauma is complicated. You know,
She
you
was
deal with
gonna-
it however you feel
Well,
like.
and that's
Yeah.
why I threw the book because I was kind of convinced, like, no, she didn't do it. Like she,
Uh-huh.
you know.
But then she
at the end,
totally
I was
did
like,
it.
oh, come on, like Tate finds the shell necklace like in a book under her surname where she's been writing poetry, which that is much more obvious in the book.
Okay.
That was one thing we noticed because it's just at the end, like, oh yeah, by the way,
Right,
she wrote poetry.
Yeah, it's not. I
And
didn't
it's
get
like-
that she wrote poetry. I get that. Oh, she just ended up writing more
There's
books.
a lot more of that laid. That was one of the things Brittany and I talked about. That it was like there's a lot more of that makes it more compelling. I don't know. The movie was just okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've had a lot apparently to say about
Yes.
where the crawdads sing.
Yes,
Thank you.
we've
Thank you
sung-
for our special guest
We
for
have
explaining the
sung
context.
all about the crawdads.
Yeah, well,
But now let's get into the meat.
we have
potatoes.
to, unfortunately, yes. Now we get to talk about Black Panther. The flood. Let's open the floodgates. You've now seen probably the biggest movie of the year. Suck
Yes.
it, James Cameron. How
Waves
was
of water.
What did it live up to the hype? The sequel to
Nothing.
Black Panther.
Nothing could live up to that hype of Black Panther. It was
Okay.
so unique in its own
Sure.
when it came out that it was such a cultural event and milestone that everyone
Yeah.
had to rush out and go see it.
And obviously, we're going into this with extra baggage, which is your star, Chadwick Boseman, unfortunately passed,
Yes.
and they've had to continue the story without him. So,
Yeah. So how do
what's
you?
up with Wakanda Forever? How
so
is this movie?
how do you continue a story, a narrative,
Yeah.
when your title character is no longer associated
Yeah, what
with
do you
the
do?
project? Yeah.
What do you do?
I mean, you just call it anatomy, right?
Just did this. Anyways,
Anyways.
so okay,
Yes.
Wakanda Forever.
Yes, Chadwick Boseman. I will say those first 5 minutes, opening 5 minutes up to the Marvel the Marvel
Manly
opening.
Man tears.
Manly Man tears. Oh god, not a dry eye in the room.
Everybody was
Oh, I bet.
Everyone was bawling. Oh,
Yeah.
But they
It is
unfortunately-
dedicated to him. We should mention.
Yes, but they do a hand wavy. He dies of an unknown illness. We're not
Sure.
sure what it
Because
is.
plot wise, you have to, because you can't make it too close to the actual thing.
Well, no, not only that, but as soon as you give it a name,
yeah.
then everyone's going to be like, "Oh, well, you could have done this or this."
Because the
or
movie
this."
can't be about that. You're right. As soon as they make go too far into it, then you're wondering for the rest of the movie, why isn't this movie about that?
Right.
Why aren't we talking about this? They have to move on.
Yes, and that's kind of what the whole movie is about. It's about moving on because
Yeah.
after those first 5 minutes, it takes place a year later,
Okay.
which in like MCU timeline is 5 years after the blip,
Okay.
plus another year, maybe year and a half.
Okay. So society is not where it was at in the first one
Yes, society. The last
because of
time,
all the things. that
time
happened.
we actually saw Wakanda was Infinity War
Yes.
when it was being attacked.
Right. Yeah.
And then, like, everyone knows now about Wakanda. It's also where we end up with Black Panther because they
Right.
both came out in 2018.
Yeah.
Black Panther in February, and then,
And then
2 months later.
by the end of that
Civil War.
movie, it's like, okay, they've started philanthropy basically and helping other places, and they're everybody knows about them. They're
Yes,
an
everyone knows
established
about
country.
Wakanda. Everyone now
Yes.
knows about vibranium.
right.
But with the death of, with the blip of
Uh-huh.
everyone going for 5 years,
Does that
and then the death of their
weird
king.
question? And I don't know if I'm going to be getting into the MCU weeds here.
Go ahead.
Did that also affect Wakanda? So
Yeah.
presumably a bunch of people in
Black Panther
Wakanda got
did.
snapped.
But yeah, like
That's
in the movie,
true.
Black Panther got snapped.
Oh yeah. Huh.
Shuri got snapped.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Both of them did?
Yeah,
That's true. Huh. Okay, I forgot. It's been a long time since those movies.
These are the kinds
Yeah.
of questions.
Okoye didn't
Yeah,
get snapped.
I'm like, what?
Mike mentioned the timeline because I went on a
Yeah.
big.
Yeah,
tirade
Okoye
about-
didn't get snapped because she was
There's
still leading
no
the
way,
Mirage.
There's no way. I was like, where in the timeline are we? Like,
Yeah,
how-
Larry.
And I'm like,
Yeah, you have this whole thing of like, wait, am I supposed to believe that Shang-Chi and Black Panther all occur within the same year?
No.
and apparently Black Panther, Chadwick's Black Panther died the second he came out of the blip.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well,
What the
like-
hell?
That
Like-
was the part that I was like, when is this?
Well, no, they said like after the which by the way, give like super praise to Angela Bassett because we're like just
Oh,
killing it.
Always.
so good.
So good. I was like, oh yeah, if you want like one, if you need a strong leader to show like strength, especially for a grieving nation, get Angela, like
Angela Bassett.
yeah, just hire Angela Bassett.
Why not?
Also, like if you want her to just like monologue and like give passionate speeches,
yes,
just let Angela Bassett be Angela Bassett, and they let her do that, and it was so great.
All right, so we did our complex where is this in the timeline stuff.
Yes,
let's focus on the movie. So you mentioned that a lot of this movie is about like
dueling kingdoms.
Yeah, thinking about how to move on beyond when your ruler dies.
Yes.
How's that fit into the larger narrative of this phase? Like, where are we going with this movie?
Well, so this movie ends phase 5, which is essentially a grieving phase and a processing phase from the blip, from the 5-year dusting.
Yeah.
So coming out of it, it's kind of a reset for Wakanda.
Okay.
We know what we said in 2018, but then some shit happened, and maybe we don't really want that now. And that's kind of
second thoughts. Having second thoughts about the choices they made at the end of Black Panther.
Well, no, second thoughts about the choices they made that Chadwick Boseman made at the end of Black Panther, and then you really no longer have him.
Right.
So
you went in thinking that you were going to have that leadership, and that leadership goes away.
Yes.
But you're left with the choices made, and you have to basically decide what you guys are going to do.
But it is a way of basically the world and the MCU world saying that, we're going to pull back because we really don't want the whole world to have vibranium weapons and shielding and all of that.
What does happen when you open Pandora's box?
Yeah.
Like, do we have can we actually tell those stories?
Yes. And they actually do go into that of like, if we do open that box and do like give the resource of vibranium to the world, how quickly then will it delve into mass attacks?
And I would also imagine this probably creates strain inside the kingdom, right? You probably have, similar to before Chadwick Boseman becomes the ruler, you have that conversation about like, well, some of these people want us to go this direction, some of these people want it.
Especially with Killmonger too in the first the first one. That's why he wanted to, that was his own intention of arming people for an uprising.
Yes.
But this isn't about necessarily Wakanda.
No.
This is about what happens when Wakanda, the only known quote unquote, the only known city to have and hold vibranium technology, goes up against another city that has vibranium technology. Oh, it's not a spoiler.
How much can you spoil?
That's not a spoiler. It's
I literally don't know anything about this. I went in. I haven't even watched the trailer.
So that's not a spoiler. It's in the trailer.
Okay, I haven't seen anything.
No,
we try not to do big spoilers for movies like this. Week one, like maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, like end of the year.
End of the year, we definitely just say everything. But I haven't seen this, so I would like to remain spoiler free as long as I haven't seen it.
So that's pretty much what the movie comes down to. It's two superpowers being run by vibranium, and the leaders of themselves having been broken, going essentially clashing against each other for different reasons.
Good setup. I mean, that seems like you could tell a really interesting story. So the question is, do they pull it off? Is this up in the upper echelon of Marvel movies like the first Black Panther? Do we see another good directing?
This is where I'm torn with it. This is where I'm torn with it because the first half of this film was spectacular. I loved every second of it.
Sure.
Introduction of new characters like Riri Williams into it. Introduction of Namor into it. Like all of that first half of this film, super well done. Really loved what they were going with it. I was like, Ryan Coogler, you're amazing. Keep doing this thing. And then it took a turn in the halfway point, and it went super enclosed spaces instead of being like the Globetrotting journey that it was. And I was like, ooh.
So do you think
you just don't agree with that turning point?
Well, no. The reason I don't agree is because they literally have to stop the story and give you backstory on Namor's character.
Do you think that this is the story just took them in this direction and they didn't have a choice here? Or do you think this is Ryan Coogler being like, I'm not making any Marvel movie, I'm making my Marvel movie? Do you think for his purposes, he wanted his movie to stand apart, just like the original Black Panther, and do things slightly different.
No, I think that if Chadwick Boseman was still around, you would start with Namor and Namor backstory.
I don't know if we can play that game.
Yes,
that's a dangerous game because there's no guessing if he was involved creatively in this movie.
Well, I'm just saying that because in the first 10, 30 minutes, you have to address the big elephant in the room that is Chadwick Boseman's death.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to address it. You have to reset Wakanda. You have to address the death. You have to address the blip. You have to address where Wakanda is now, where the leadership is now. Right. You have to address all of that within the first 30, 40 minutes. That by the time you get around to introducing your main villain in the film, or main antagonist, not villain, but main antagonist in the film, that you're introduced to him, but you're not fully introduced to him until halfway through. Okay. And that's when you get the backstory. And even when he's doing it, I asked the question, why are you telling me all this now? And then the character on screen is like, so why are you telling me all this now?
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah.
But they couldn't have started with that.
Yes.
Given
yes, but that's what I'm saying. If you didn't have Chadwick Boseman as he was a part of it, you could have that backstory for that character in the beginning.
Stories could be 100% different.
Yes.
I applaud them on being able to pivot and make a good, compelling story.
Yeah.
Because I think they actually did a really good job addressing it. I don't like the midpoint thing either. We're not going to spoil it.
It drags. That's when the whole thing comes to a halt.
But I get why they did it because that's what had to happen.
You have to get the other side of the story.
I was going to say that had to happen, and it's sad, and it's.
No, that's not the midpoint point. That's not the one.
Yeah,
I'm talking about right before it.
No, but you don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that other point either.
Is the turn. That is.
No, that's the turning. That's not the midpoint.
Whatever semantics.
The turning, but I think relative to Phase 5, I think it's one of the stronger movies.
Yeah, I think this is the film that everyone wanted Phase 5 to be.
Compared to Shang-Chi, which I thought was fantastic. This is probably number 2 in this phase for me. Cool. I would say.
Cool.
I love the badass woman.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's
I know you do.
Black Panther is my favorite Marvel movie, and it
mine too.
Will be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that still.
That's good.
Which is good. Maybe even more, which is kind of awesome.
That's good too.
Yeah, because I think Black Panther had the best of everything that Wakanda Forever had the best of everything that Phase 4 was trying to have in all of its movies. You had the big battle that Shang-Chi had. You had the badass woman that Black Widow was trying to have.
Right.
You had the new characters in mythical world.
We don't need to talk about
that. They tried to have.
We don't need to relitigate Black Widow.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yes. They had the whole family building and family dynamics that Eternals was trying to have.
But you have the same that Black Panther the original had.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, no, I'm going to talk about specifically in Phase 4
phase.
That there's all these elements of the different films that got right in Wakanda Forever, and that's due to Ryan Coogler.
Okay, so overall, it's still a strong showcase for Ryan Coogler. Still a strong showcase for this specific section of the Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. And how does it bode for the future? Do you think that there's more stories to be told about Wakanda? Do you think that it'll be play a big part here? All these characters in this world in the coming Marvel stories?
They're definitely setting it up for a bigger player, especially with the different alliances that are made by the end of the film.
Very cool. So overall, feeling pretty good?
Overall, it's good. Yeah, it's a very solid. It's not highest of highs, but definitely top of the top.
All right, now the ultimate question, nothing to do with the quality of the film, but I'm just curious. Do you think this outperforms Avatar? Do you think Avatar takes the throne immediately upon its first release? Where are we at here? Because this is the question.
So, does Avatar do 181 million in its opening debut?
I don't know anymore.
I don't think it does.
I don't know if it does. I don't know how the global temperature, or at least the domestic temperature of Avatar is. Do people care? Apparently they do, but how many?
I don't know. But that trailer was so good.
Yeah.
You like that trailer, though.
I will say, though, there's a lot of similar watery themes.
Yes.
Without giving away anything between the two. So people might be like, well, I just saw Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, you can check this box. Water, CG.
And they're coming out a
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of like, okay, I guess I have to see
Like
it.
I just saw water people.
But you just saw blue people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not spoiling anything.
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
you
No.
did just see blue water people once. Do I need to see it again?
Right.
Check that box for 2022. I'm
Just
good.
saying.
Well, wait, you just saw blue water and cat people?
Cat people.
Yep. Well, the avatars are like cat.
They're kind of cat.
Cat,
They act like cat ears.
Avatar
Yeah.
confuses me. Like, is there even a story to Avatar? Or is
There
it
is.
just
There
videos
Here,
pretty?
I'll save you time. It's Pocahontas.
It's Fern Gully.
It's Fern Gully.
I'm just saying, like, all you ever hear about, I haven't seen the original.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
It's okay. It's on
Fine.
Disney Plus. We'll
It's
watch it
fine.
at some
I
point.
know, but like,
All 2 hours and 45 minutes of
All
it.
you hear
Extended
about,
edition.
All you hear about is how visually stunning it is.
That's
but,
it.
like,
That's it. That's the
I
thing.
don't know
Yeah.
anything about the story.
Yeah.
I thought the ride at Disney World was pretty cool, and we
Mhm.
got to cut the 4 hour long. And I was like, "What is even happening?"
Well, because you got to realize that the
wanna-
film came out in 2009.
Yeah.
That's also part of it. It's like, I don't know. It's like saying
Wild.
like Godfather is like the great film, but you got to realize
Is
that it
it?
came out in the 70s. Citizen Kane, it's a great film, but you got to realize it came out in the 20s.
I see what you mean.
There's cultural context and like
Citizen
technological
Kane did not come out in the 20s.
whatever. You know what I mean?
40s.
40s.
Anyways.
Whatever. Star Wars in the 70s.
Yeah.
There's cultural context and like technological limitations.
It was really
at the
cool in
time.
2009. I remember being pretty blown away by how Avatar looked in 3D in a theater. I'll be honest. That being said, yeah, the same movie now probably wouldn't work as well. So I have no idea what they're going to do with the sequel.
Right.
But anyway, we'll talk
Anyways,
about that when
you're
Avatar
the one
comes
who brought
out.
up Avatar.
I know. I was just curious about numbers. But yes, so that's Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I'll try to see it sometime soon. And yeah, we'll be able to talk more about it then. But for now, that wraps up this episode of the Media Vote podcast.
I mean, it better. We're hit the 2 hour mark
Right in time. So thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next week at some point. It is the Thanksgiving holiday week here in the U.S. So we will not. I guess we can wait till Saturday and do it. I don't know. We'll see.
We can see.
And depending on holiday plans, we will record around them.
Yep.
So yeah, enjoy the holiday if you have the days off or day off or whatever. In the meantime, we'll be back next week for more. All these things, more thoughts, more news, and all that business. You can watch us in video form on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and search Media Boat Podcast. You can listen to us in audio form on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Media Boat Podcast there. As of this recording, we still have a Twitter account.
After this recording, Twitter is still a thing.
At Media Boat Cast. Who knows if that breaks within the next week we talk here. Who knows? Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast. We have a page there. Again, for now. And then if you want to ask us questions, no fan question this week, but maybe one next week if you write in at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com.
I would say at least I didn't see one, but
last second check here.
Yeah, I was
just to make sure.
Just to make sure.
No.
Yeah, no, we're good.
All right. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. Have a good holiday week if you're celebrating the holidays. In the meantime, we'll be back next week. See you guys then.
Yep, we'll be back with more news, more thoughts, maybe some glass onions.
Maybe.
And yeah, more of us.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right. And wait.